I have been struggling to learn anything AWS related. And it's no wonder why, right? Commands and outputs are super long, and I typically need to do a lot of Google dorking, or I need AI assistance, and I'm sure that you're experiencing the same thing, especially if you're not well versed in AWS, just like me. But thankfully, there are developers making our lives so much easier with free and open source automation, hashtag Team Foss, and a shout out to the amazing team at Rhino Security Labs for bringing us an incredible AWS exploitation framework, Pacu. Kia ora, friends, I'm Ryan. I've finally set aside some time to dive into a course that I purchased a few months ago titled Introduction to AWS Pentesting, and I am so excited to share this tool, Pacu, with you today. Welcome to Brews and Hats.
Compromising any system without explicit written permission to do so is a crime. I do not, and will not endorse criminal activity.
So let's start from the top with a little bit of background of why I'm making this video. I'm currently taking the Intro to AWS Pentesting course, or at least I finally made time to take the Intro to AWS Pentesting course taught by Tyler Ramsby. You may know him from Hack Smarter. And that course is found on Simply Cyber Academy, which I will link all that below. Full disclosure, I did get the early bird special on the price, so I did pay a lesser price than what it costs now. But I really do like this so far. I've been trying to learn AWS and cloud for a long time. The problem is when I take courses like I did earlier this month, like I quite literally fall asleep during those courses because I don't learn from reading or listening to lectures or taking notes. I learn from hands-on learning, what I like to call Lego learning. I learn best when I have my hands on the thing, putting pieces together, building it. Even if I'm following a step-by-step guide, I'm still learning how the pieces go together myself so that I can later take it apart, break it, move these pieces into 3 different other projects. And so far, I'm feeling that that's what this course is going to give me. Tyler even said this in an early module, and it's one of my favorite adages. Give somebody a fish and they will eat for a day, but teach them how to fish and they will eat for a lifetime. And I really feel that's what I'm going to get out of this course, as it's showing you how to build your own AWS different types of buckets, so S3 and E2 buckets. I think he mentioned another one. So I'm really looking forward to finishing this course, but on the lab I am currently on, which is the first lab that you're actually doing, is enumerating different users groups and roles and privileges, or policies, I'm sorry, for a particular AWS environment. And he has actually challenged the students to learn how to use a tool called Pacu, which he did help develop, and publish a video or walkthrough on how to use that tool. And of course, the only possible answer I can give to that is
that wasn't
challenge accepted.
Now, I am going to take it a step further, though. Instead of going through the tool and making a video about it, I'm actually going to record myself looking at this tool for the first time with you, just for that same old adage. My hope is that if I record how I'm learning things, people that learn the same way as me can get a lot of value out of this. So if you get any value out of this, please like and subscribe. And if you're curious to know what I think of the course once I finish it, please drop a comment saying that you're interested in knowing my thoughts on the overall course. Topped off my warm sake, kia ora. So all that being said, let's go on to the desktop and let me show you what I'm working with, because we do have a couple of Lego blocks to put together before I can get into the actual tool itself. So all of these resources and tools are free. There is no cost. So this is just giving a little information about the challenge. So in this challenge, we want to go through and enumerate users, policies, groups, and roles, all with the Pacu tool to automate retrieving all this information instead of trying to remember and Google all the very long verbose commands to do so, which, that being said, Tyler does give us this fantastic AWS enumeration cheat sheet. So to provide a couple of building blocks quickly before we look at the Pacu tool, we are currently starting the course looking at IAM, which is Identity and Access Management, because it is very important for security of AWS environments. Misconfigurations can lead to privilege escalation, lateral movement, data exfiltration, and persistence. So I'm going to provide a few resources in the description with a full breakdown of what IAM is. If you need additional assistance for that, I'm trying to keep this video very short and concise, so I'm not going to get into the deep and dirty details of IAM. Now, luckily, Tyler has provided an amazing cheat sheet as a part of the course, so that's part of what you pay for, is this amazing cheat sheet here, which I think is actually probably on GitHub somewhere, to be honest. But anyway, as you can see, AWS commands through the command line interface are long to, one, try and remember, but also to get the syntax correct. So this is a very difficult thing. So this is a cheat sheet on all the things that we will be doing to enumerate as much information as possible for this AWS environment. But basically, Pacu is going to do this very quickly for us. So we need a couple of prerequisites, starting with the AWS command line interface. So to do this, you can go to the website. So this page is how to set up CloudGoat, which is a vulnerable by design cloud deployment tool. In other words, if you've watched my previous videos where we set up home labs, we are setting up vulnerable virtual machines. This is basically the same idea, but already for the cloud, rather than a local virtual machine. So we're not going to worry too much about CloudGoat, but we do need to follow this page here for the AWS CLI. And installation instructions are very straightforward. Obviously, if you're on a Mac, follow Mac. If you're on a Windows, follow Windows. For these purposes, I'm going to assume you are on a Linux machine. You haven't seen my background yet. I guess you can see the little logo right here. But I am on a ParrotOS machine. Those who have been following me for a while know that I've been trying to dabble with Parrot instead of Kali, just to give it a real chance, and I'm actually really enjoying it. So it is the host OS on my laptop right now. But you can actually follow these instructions whether you are on Parrot, Kali, or a WSL machine like Ubuntu. Doesn't matter. I'm going to assume that you're on a Linux machine. So once you select Linux, yes, there is the Yum repository, but I am not on a machine using the Yellow Dog package manager. Anyway, you're going to come down here and you can just copy this and paste it into your command line as I have here. And I'm just going to quickly show you. Here, let me move my... Oh, whoops. Let me move my face out of the way. Okay, so it's going to be pulling a lot of packages down. That's okay, this is totally normal. Okay, and then you can do these test commands here, which I've got AWS version. So this is going to show the CLI version with the Python version, so on and so forth. And then you need to export this to the path, which I don't remember where those instructions came from. But this is a normal thing that you can do with any new command that you add. So we're going to echo. This \n is a regular expression to create a new line when you're echoing items to a text file. So you're going to export the path. I'll put this in the notes. Let me make a note to do that. Now, obviously, only do the .zshell-rc zshrc file if you are using zshell. Otherwise, if you're using bash, it's probably going to be .bashrc. You may have a .profile, just whatever it is, use accordingly for your individual system. And then you'll need to source that profile document. That's just basically going to restart your shell to export that new path variable. And then you can move on to the next step. The next building block piece that we need for Pacu is actually optional. You don't need pipx. If you're running a updated version of Kali Linux, pipx should already be installed on your image. If you're using ParrotOS like I am, it is likely not pre-installed, so I had to install it. This is optional, you don't need it. However, it is best practice to run Python scripts, especially pen testing Python scripts, in a sandboxed virtual environment. So pipx versus virtual environment. Pipx is a specialized tool for installing and running command line applications in isolated environments. While VMV, virtual environment, is a general purpose tool for creating virtual environments for any Python project. So pipx simplifies the process of managing CLI, command line interface, applications, and their dependencies, allowing users to avoid conflicts, whereas virtual environment requires more manual setup and management for each project. And for those dependencies, it can get very aggravating, especially if you are behind on updates like I constantly am. So I would recommend pipx to do this next part. So to install, just from whatever package manager you need, if you're on Kali or Parrot, you will be using apt, so sudo apt install pipx, and the output will look like so. I can actually minimize this and show you the real output on my real terminal. Okay, and then I know that this is a different package here, but you can pipx install git +, then the shortcut for Pacu, which is right here, and in the description. And then it will remind you that you need to do the pipx ensure path, which do that, close your terminal, open back up. Okay, so let me copy this, and that is what that will look like. And last but not least, before we get started with Pacu, you do need a Cyber account, CYBR, link in the description. It is free. There are a ton of free labs. Let's look at their labs, learn labs. They have an entire free section, and we've got foundational, red team, blue team, lots of good stuff. I've been aware of Cyber for a while, and I'm excited to finally have an account and dive into a lot of these different labs. But for this one, we are doing Introduction to AWS IAM or IAM enumeration. Learn how to enumerate AWS IAM, including users, groups, roles, and permissions. Enumeration is a critical part of a security assessment because they give us lay of the land and help us find potential weaknesses. There is a walkthrough for the lab, which of course you can take a look at. We're going to focus on Pacu. Now, what is Pacu? Besides the oversized herbivore cousin of a piranha. It is an open source AWS exploitation framework designed for offensive security testing against cloud environments, created and maintained by Rhino Security Labs. Pacu allows penetration testers to exploit configuration flaws with an AWS account. Using modules to easily expand its functionality, current modules enable a range of attacks, including user privilege escalation, backdooring of IAM users, attacking vulnerable Lambda functions, and much more. So in the course, Tyler relates this tool back to Metasploit, and reading about the modules and everything, I have a feeling that the functionality is going to be very similar to Metasploit, so which we've used Metasploit before in previous videos of mine. Oh, also there is a Docker image, so if you would prefer to run the Docker image, please do so. I may play with that eventually. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the lab, and the lab does have a 60-minute window, but let's go ahead and do it. So while that's setting up, let's move my face out of the way. Make that bigger. That looks good. Yeah, that looks good. All right. Let's take a look at the Pacu tool. So if we just type Pacu, gotta love that ASCII art. Okay, so I did have existing sessions. That's kind of strange, but we'll go ahead and do a new session. Sure, we will name this. Oh, that's right. I did have it named CloudGoat. We will name this B&H demo. Brews and Hacks demo. All right, so this is looking like similar to Metasploit, where it's kind of like a inline manual. I'm sure if we did man Pacu, it would give us a lot more. Let's see. Okay, no manual entry. But that's fine, because we are getting all these things right here. So let me read over this real quick. If you were having trouble running it, double check to make sure that you have JQ, which is jQuery, I think. But make sure that you have JQ installed. That's literally what the package is titled. Okay, so pretty straightforward, and it is very similar to Metasploit that I'm seeing here. So if we want to see what our options are, let's go ahead and, as far as modules go, let's go ahead and list them. So you can either do LIST, writing out the word list, or you can just do LS as a shortcut. I'm going to opt for the shortcut because that's just the way I am today. Okay, so we've got persist. That is going to be as if we already got initial access, right? We've got reconnaissance, which is unauthorized reconnaissance. I believe with this lab, the way it's set up, we will have, we have an access ID, we have our secret key, we have our username. Oops. Okay, didn't mean to do that. It's okay. I'll get it out. Normally you wouldn't want to display these on a video because that is you don't want to give your access key ID, which is kind of like your login username, and your secret access key, which is kind of like your password or your private SSH key. You wouldn't want to give those things out on a video recording, but this is a limited time lab. It's immutable, and it will dissolve after 57 minutes, and it won't exist anymore. So before this is even done being edited, it will be useless to anybody. This is enumeration. So these are what we're going to be using here. I'll get back to that in a little bit. Exploit, I'm sure that is also to get your initial access, and then persist is after your initial access. Evade is to clean up your tracks. Escalate privileges, of course. Exfil to pull any data that you want, or even data that you don't want out of the environment. And lateral move, so after your initial access and you have persistence, maybe you can't escalate your privileges in your current parameters, so you need to make a lateral move before you can escalate privileges. Typical penetration testing vocabulary here. Okay, so let's look through the enumeration options. Wow, okay, so this is what this entire lab is about right here. We're looking for identity and access management, enumeration of users' roles, policies, and groups to look for any possible misconfigurations that we can leverage in an exploit to help this business improve their security. Very important. All right, we're going to search access, see what we can find on that. All right, exploit enum decode access ID. I don't want to do that. Okay, so you can set things as normal, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use my cheat sheet here, and we are going to go ahead and set up this profile. So AWS configure profile cyber. Oh. It helps to spell correctly. So a little trick I learned for my Linux Plus exam, if you're not sure why a command isn't working, don't just assume that you did it wrong. Read it backwards and see if you can catch a syntax or a spelling error. I just had a spelling error, and that may be all you need to do. All right, I wonder if I need to configure this before I open Pacu, so let's do that. Paste in your access ID, the secret key, default region name, US East 1, US-East-1, all lowercase, and output format JSON. Okay. Okay, now we will go to Pacu. Let's try this. Still says no access keys set. All right, so we are just going to voice over. First, I tried doing some sudo privileges, which of course Pacu does not need elevated privileges. You can just run it regularly as a regular user, so that didn't do anything. Now I'm trying to set the profile within Pacu, which was also unsuccessful, which I'm going to actually follow up on that now that I'm thinking about it, because it does say that you can run AWS commands as normal in Pacu. So now I'm checking this error, CLI binary format, no attribute. And that leads me to believe that I have out-of-date libraries or packages. So I update all packages under all package managers, including pipx, which I just installed, so it should be up to date, but I double check anyway. All right, so with none of that being successful, I finally, I try running commands back in the Pacu command line again, and then I'm finally getting warmer to the right track. I'm on GitHub. Now, currently I'm looking at issues through the issue pages, and then I'm searching a couple key terms like namespace, because that was part of the error that I received. As you can see, my troubleshooting started at, 9:42, now it's 9:56. So it's been about 15 minutes. And then I am back off the correct track. Well, no, I'm still kind of on the right track. I go back to the homepage for Pacu, and I'm looking at the general running Pacu from the command line interface instructions, and then I'm searching a few things like search set, search keys, and it's not really giving me much to go on. So I'm reading through things again. Now I'm searching secret, as in like secret access key. And I try who am I? It's false because there are no credentials that are stored anywhere. And now I'm just getting frustrated and trying whatever this person said, but it was just a request for some functionality. So now I'm trying the help command without going into the interactive module for Pacu. And I'm going to try a few things outside of it, and I'm going to try setting the keys from here. Spoiler alert, this doesn't really do anything. I tried using the username as a token, that didn't work. I tried doing it with no token. It's just like doing it inside the tool. It's not really doing much different outside of the tool. So finally, at 10:07 for my local time, I give in and I refer to the video for instructions, which I quickly find out I was on the right track. And, just FYI, I did stop watching the video as soon as I realized what I needed to do next, before I moved on watching the video, so that it was still a real-time learning as I go for you all. Okay, friends. So, always important to read documentation. So I was reading through the main page here, but what I should have done was go to the installation guide and then come to the detailed user guide way down at the bottom. And certainly we could and should read through all of this. I'm not going to do it right now. Definitely not going to do it while recording. But what I noticed was that we should have started with the import keys. that we already set up. So let's exit out of this and go back to that first session that I did, the actual B&H demo. And then we will import keys B&H demo because I already set that up. Okay, now we list data. Yes, okay. We are on the right track. All right. All right, now we're going to try that module. Again, you can type list to find this, but we're going to go ahead and do this. Unrecognized command. Okay, here are commands to set keys, swap keys, yada yada yada. Let's go ahead and do who am I, make sure that's working. Did my session expire from trying to figure all that out? 9 minutes left. Oh, that's right. Command unrecognized. Okay, so to run that module, we will do run, paste the module. There we go. Oh, found 4 users, found 14 roles, missing needed permissions. IAM resources saved in the Pacu database. All right, so we can select data again because that should show all data from this session. Well, look at that. All right. That is a lot of information. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. All right, I have copied it. Let's put it in the notes. And there we have it. So here are our list of users, and you can also, just so you know, set this up in like a Mongo viewer and view it in like a table form, which might be really nice. I'm just like so used to reading JSON files now, like this is just normal for me. But yeah, then we have roles. And then we have groups. So groups, we have developers or infrastructure. And if I remember correctly from the manual enumeration, infrastructure was the interesting one. So let's find that. Support role, or wait. All right, so we're gonna have to restart because I didn't do enough yet. Okay, so we're gonna do this with the other B&H demo. This is gonna take a couple minutes, but AWS real demo. Okay, same thing. Copy and paste your keys. Default region is US East 1 JSON. IAM list users. Okay, should be good. Okay, Pacu. for B&H real demo. Import keys B&H real demo ls. Okay, here are the enumerations that we want to do. We want to do permissions, users, roles, policies, groups. Run. We'll start with that same one. Okay, and they are all stored in the database. So now we will do permissions. Okay, so who am I can list all the permissions. Let's give us some room here. Who am I can list all the permissions, and then data will list everything we've enumerated. And let me watch the video real quick to see if there's anything else we need to enumerate. All right, cool. So I copied that over to my notes, and I confirmed that that is all we were trying to enumerate from here. So we got all of the users, all of the groups, all of the permissions, and that is stored in the Pacu user session itself, and you can retrieve that by typing who am I and data to view all the data. So I'm just going to show a little bit more of Pacu again real quick. So we'll show help. So these are the quick keys. And then to list all the modules, you can type ls or list. And these are all the modules. We already walked through how they work. I hope you can see the real value in this tool, just like Metasploit. Metasploit is an awesome framework, and I maybe not so surprisingly have the same issue with Metasploit, where I have trouble getting the initial keys or whatever prerequisite information that the tool needs to execute the modules. I usually have a problem getting those in there too, which just goes to show you, please don't get discouraged when you're looking for help in forums and everything, and you see rude, ugly people say RTFM, which technically stands for read the effing manual, but I'm going to reframe your mind by saying that it stands for read the fantastic manual. All right, I'm just going to throw that little friendly spin on it, because reading is fundamental. I mean, I'm like one of the people that definitely get told RTFM a lot. So, don't let that discourage you. Just like I did, take a step back and, realize where the information could be located that you need, and then travel to that location. In this case, it was the detailed user guide from the installation page, which I just wasn't aware of at first. I was only looking at the basic usage on the README homepage of the GitHub, and that just wasn't enough to get the job done. So that is it for this video. The only scope was the enumeration and using the automation of Pacu, which I can see is going to be a very valuable tool for any time I'm pen testing any AWS, both in my home lab and in the real world if I'm ever doing an assessment. I'm really looking forward to Tyler's sessions. I think this is going to be the perfect learning model for me to learn AWS, where I was struggling on learning just basic AWS practitioner and security practitioner items from the read and listen to learning sessions. I'm in one ear and out the other, or in one eye and out the other, I guess, for the reading, whatever. The hands-on stuff is what helps me. I'm sure there will be another challenge in this course to upload another video, so subscribe and hit the notification bell for when that is coming your way. And again, if you're interested in hearing my thoughts after I finish the course on what I find the value in this course is, especially if you learn the same way that I do, that Lego learning, leave a comment below. So until next time, hack responsibly, my friends.